Let's do it. It's recording.
Sounds like it's recording. Woo!
Mm.
So, look, it's Thursday night. It's 8:30. It's Thursday night. I'm 34 now. Last time we did one of these, I wasn't. So, there's a chance I might die any time. But that's okay because before I go, I've got a whole
It's
bunch
good
of
to
questions.
start on a positive note.
I'm nothing if not positive, mate. Except when it comes to things like HIV, in which case definitely not. I'm also not pregnant, so
Being interrupted when you're doing an intro.
I can't even get the intro out without being. Anyways,
Yeah.
Look, I put this idea to you the other day, and we were having a bit of a chat about, some sort of like not necessarily a set piece, but some kind of discussion that was perhaps a little bit more framed, as we've done a couple of in the past. Then we've done some generic sort of, general sort of talks. So I came up with this idea of asking you 5 questions, 5 important questions that I want you to fill me in on. What do you reckon about that?
Sounds interesting.
You should be worried.
Yeah.
You should be. Be honest.
And we're not dicking around. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen them.
Nah, this is all secretive. I wrote them all the other day, and then I wrote another one today and deleted an option just to make it a bit more interesting, you know what I mean? And what's really funny is you don't know what's coming up next. So you've got one in front of you that I'm going to read.
Yeah.
You're going to answer it, and then you're going to be sitting there going, oh, shit.
Yeah, where's this going?
If this is number 2,
Yeah.
number 4 going to be like, But anyways, look, I've written them down, mate. What I'd really like is for you to basically just talk about it, because it is your opinions, not my opinions. Happy to clarify if it doesn't make sense, or I've read a word wrong, which is possible. But English second language and everything, Australian first language. Yeah, you know what I mean. If there's anything like that, by all means, let me know. But I'm hoping that it's going to be a fairly straightforward affair. So whenever you're ready, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm hoping you're going to give me some insightful, deep answers. All the listeners out there, all of them, both of them, they really want to know what you have to say on these 5 topics. So whenever you're ready, I'll go with number 1.
Okay, let's just get right on. Let's do it.
No problems.
All right.
All right, mate. Question 1, the first. Where do stereotypes come from?
Jesus.
Bang.
Fuck me. All right.
I'm not dicking around here, mate. I told you, this is proper questions. There's no favourite colour on this list, man. I'm telling you.
Well, where do stereotypes come from? Gee, that's. Whew.
It's a good one, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's too good for me to answer. Like that's you're answering.
I'm hoping for a television show out of this.
Okay, so yeah, give me the A to D options here. What's going on?
Sorry, mate. You were a bit fuzzy there.
What's the 4 options?
No, there's none of that shit, mate. This is just a general question. You're a general guy.
Yeah. In my opinion, I guess that I'm making up an opinion on the spot.
You'll never be Prime Minister, mate, if that's your answer.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's lots of factors. Well, I mean, opinion stereotypes don't come from somewhere. Like they're not just invented by one person and written down. They're basically a conglomerate of different things about a. So for starters, the stereotypes, I believe, that the way we see them come from a sort of second generation or immigration or whatever you want to call it. Like they're seldom the actual base. So for instance, stereotypical Italians tend to be caricatures of immigrants that have broken English. Work in restaurants or whatever. Because at the face of it, the people, because stereotypes come from another culture, not the culture itself. Yeah. So
yeah, I accept that.
Okay, so so where do people see the culture. They see it in from their own viewpoint, which tends to be the Italian in America, the Italian in Australia, the Indian in America, the Indian in Australia. So the stereotypes come from that viewpoint in that. So it's the result of one culture in a location, in another location, right?
Yep.
And then they come from observations of the sort of daily practice. So, you know, you're going to work. On the way to work, you deal with people from a different culture in certain locations, at the convenience store, in the taxi, whatever that, you know what I mean? So they come from these things you do daily and how those cultures apply to those things you do daily.
Right. So what you're saying is that your experience with other cultures, not you, I mean people, you know, generally, their experiences with other cultures as filtered through the situation. So like you say, the taxi, the 7-Eleven, the you know what I mean, getting on a bus, whatever it might be.
The pizza bar, you know, so they're things that you do that don't necessarily relate to your life, other than those, you know, it's not your job or your, you know, things you do on the weekend or whatever. And to create these stereotypes based on these small little, you know, trivial tasks you perform, you know. So in your experience, it's limited. It's dealing with other cultures. Then you've got the sort of, unexperienced sort of stereotypes in the sense that media and, you know, other third-party ways you take in different cultures. So that would be for instance, the only thing I know about Saudi Arabia is when they come up on the news or whatever, you know. So like there's something to do with oil in the Middle East, and that's all I know about that culture. That creates a stereotype in itself, because now you're seeing this very limited, high level, you know, viewpoint. You're either seeing some footage of a war zone, or so, you know, so Afghanistan, Iraq, whatever that might be. And that starts, I mean, sort of off topic, but now that blending of different cultures, so the Arab world, so then it's kind of the stereotype even encompasses, like, you know, a whole continent rather than just a nationality.
Sure. So it gets expanded to cover anyone of a similar appearance, language, dress, behaviour kind of thing.
That's when stereotypes start crossing the line, I think, into... I don't think stereotypes are racism, but they're obviously, you know, not far away.
They have the potential to delve into racism, don't they? If you're not careful. Even positive ones, like, you know, I'm trying to think of an example that's positive that's not going to get me shot or you know, broken into, but like something, all Chinese people are good at maths or something like that.
That's and then, you know, that can even be a thing where it's, you know, people talk about Asians and you know, or they say Chinese, and they're talking about every Asian, you know.
Yeah, well, I can actually blow that straight apart right now, because whenever I go to the Asian place, they never give me the right change, so it's bullshit that they're all good at maths. It's fucking a waste of time. But I've got to say, I think your answer, if I can break it down into its two sort of parts.
Yeah, let me just wrap it up real quick.
Sorry, you go.
So I guess what I'm saying is, you know, stereotypes. I've been focusing on nationalities, which says a lot in itself. But
No,
stereotypes,
it's an easier one, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Like,
But
yeah,
stereotypes could be all sorts of, you know, the stereotypical cyclist, the stereotypical, blah, whatever. This,
you're still milking that when you
yeah,
got run over by the bike.
yeah,
You still fucking
yeah,
can't let it go.
yeah. So
You ran
there's
to the
lots
pad.
of, so we'll just keep it with the race. So to where stereotypes come from, they come from experiences of one cultural demographic with another, and how it's
Mhm.
perceived in general. Like, there's a sort of consensus of perception. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Of, oh yeah, that guy, those people with the blah blah blah, and they talk funny and they dress a certain way and they all do it. And it's, you know,
Yeah.
it's that. So yeah,
So essentially, your limited experiences with a particular grouping, be it a nationality, a sexuality, a gender,
yeah,
a religious group.
yeah,
If you only have limited experiences, then your opinion and your understanding of that particular group, it's a subsect, but I don't mean it to be sub as in lower. I mean it as in a smaller.
yeah.
Your understandings of that group are shaped very much by your daily life and how different these other people are from perhaps your daily interactions.
Correct. Yeah, your group, your demographic, your stereotype.
Mm.
Um, it's the general perception that you and your people, whatever,
Yep.
have with another group
Yep.
toward another group.
I'll buy that, mate. I got to say, I think that's a really bloody good answer for a tough question first up.
I know,
No, seriously.
after a hard day's work. Yeah, it's good question
Like
though. That's
hard
fucking
day colouring in, did you,
yeah.
mate?
Yeah.
No, honestly,
Yeah.
mate, I think you've done really well there. I think that's a very, very good, concise answer as to what forms those types of views. And I think that if that was something that was on the television,
Yeah.
there'd be a lot of nodding of heads. There wouldn't be a lot of going, no, that's not. I think when you listen back to it, I think you'll be surprised. I'm hoping you can apply that kind of amazing depth of insight and sheer intelligence power to the next question that I have for you.
All right, let's do it.
Are we moving on to number 2?
Let's move on to number 2.
Okay, let's keep it fresh here, mate. So, question 2. Is watching a pre-op transgender male have sex with a woman gay? A friend of mine wants to know.
Yes. I'm gonna
think about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about. Okay, so we're talking about. I like how you use the PC term.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, is that just a? And I'm like, wait, I can't say it because you're trying to be on PC.
That's what you're thinking.
So so a man now.
So far, you're right.
Okay, so a male turned female, right?
It's not Jurassic Park.
Yeah. No, I'm just getting it right. Okay, so
away.
it's a female. It's a female chick with a dick. Yeah, is that what we're talking about?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
It's a man who's making the transition into a female body, but only from the waist up.
Yeah, okay.
So essentially on the screen at any one time, possibly, I didn't get the details from my friend.
Having sex with a female.
Yep.
Is it gay?
Yep.
No.
Okay. Am I gay for watching it? Asked my friend.
Yeah. No, your friend's fine, I think.
Sweet.
Because it's... Yeah, you could... Yeah, no, you'd have to push those boundaries a bit further, I think, because it's essentially male genitalia, female genitalia.
Is that an Italian word? I don't know what it is. I don't want to be stereotypical, mate.
Yeah.
Speak it to English, please.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to break that answer down to.
That's fine, mate.
But no, yeah. I mean, look, it's yeah.
It's not gay. It's fine.
In regards to those grey areas, that's probably the least gay.
I'm not watching geriatric transgender people. There's no grey areas. They're all firm and pink areas, mate. Let's not be silly about it here. Let me ask you this then. Does it matter who's watching it? Like, if it's not gay in the eyes of, say, yourself, myself, someone else of our kind of worldly understanding or whatever, what about in the eyes of a church member or a child that's been raised in a same-sex couple household in 20 years' time, like...
Yeah, well, I mean, I think maybe if you'd asked me, 50 years ago in another country, I probably would have said yes. But I don't think it's gay.
Mm.
It's just, like, for instance, should you have a sex change? It's got nothing to do with gay or not. I think it's a slightly different sort of question in those eyes of
Yep, I think that's true.
Yeah, like it's almost like a different issue, so to speak. And I'm not in or there about it, to be honest. I'm not.
I understand.
Yeah. I don't have any strong opinions either way, so not my place to say.
You're very much.
But in terms of is it gay, or no, because it's a male essentially.
Yeah.
And a female, so it sort of asks other questions, those scenarios.
Yeah, true.
As to why a male who wants to be a female is then doing male things with, but we could go on for too long on that. So
I didn't Google that, to be honest. I didn't look that up. I'm just.
That's a fair question. That was not a fair question. It wasn't as good as your first. I liked your first.
Wasn't as good as my first.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, your answer wasn't as good as your first.
Yeah, that's true.
1-0, Chief. But look, that's fine. I'll forgive you because I know that question 3.
Yeah.
You're and I know now you must be sweating bullets. But I know that you're gonna nail this one, mate. So here we go. Question 3, and I'm looking for expository dialogue and explosions. So if you can do something about that, because otherwise the people aren't going to listen, mate. We need to put some... In this 23-second news cycle, they need, shake the camera a bit. All right, here we go. Question 3. You're standing in a bank. Imagine that you still go to banks.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's 1984.
Yeah,
you're standing in a bank.
Yeah.
You're minding your own business. You're looking towards the front, waiting for your turn.
Yep.
All of a sudden, a robber runs in, starts yelling and stuff. Maybe a shot's fired. You turn around. What's the first thing you notice about the bank robber? Careful.
Well, they're covered from head to toe. And
mate, do you want to explain that a little bit better?
Oh, balaclavas and whatnot.
Yeah, okay. Just checking. I thought it might
have. And they're that was yeah.
So essentially, you're
what to do that. And they're probably holding some sort of weaponry, and that's probably what I'll notice if it's where that thing's pointed.
Okay. Yep. That was one of the possible answers I had written down that you may give was weapon. No, seriously, I thought. I wonder what the answer is going to be to this because I thought maybe it was an ethnicity or a gender or if the guy comes in and he's wearing a clown suit, like maybe there's something.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, you see how you just say it's guy. I didn't even think about that. It didn't cross my mind, male, female. It's a male.
Yeah, yep.
And
to be fair, that's probably pretty reasonable assumption to make.
Yeah.
You'd assume it's a male. With possessing all of their limbs as well, you wouldn't assume there was any amputee robbers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but you know what I mean. I wanted to know: was it the weapon that you saw? Were you trying to get a description for the police? Was it your life flashed before your eyes? I just didn't know what it would be for you, so I thought I'd ask the question.
That's a good question. I mean, those are things that tend to blur when they happen. But if I know anyway, right? But yeah,
Well, you're always on the other end of the gun. So
Yeah.
when you burst into a bank,
Yeah.
people look at about you, mate.
Yeah.
All right, good answer. I like that.
Okay.
Covered head to toe. It wasn't a Muslim thing. You got out of that
Yeah,
very quick.
so I try. Yeah, I saw you were trying to push that one out.
No, 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 I'm not. I'm just trying
Push.
to keep you safe. I just
Yeah.
don't want there to be any backlash
No.
because at the end of the day, that's what other people think. That's not what not what we're
Stereotypes. Yeah, I know.
stereotypes, mate. You see how there's a bit of interweaving here going on, a little bit of
Yeah.
an arc,
Yeah,
if you will.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So question 5 then. Oh, sorry, question 4. I beg your pardon. If you're ready,
Yeah, man.
this one is something that I'm really looking for some deep knowledge from you. I think some real. You've lived through this. You've been there. You've done this. So this is life experience directly from you. No, I'm serious. You'll be able to answer this one very, very well. I put this in as a bit of a gimme. I think you'll be able to answer this straight away. So my question is this. On television talk shows, Insight, 7:30, maybe even Dr. Phil,
Yep.
something where there's an interaction between a host potentially and a bit of a crowd, maybe 5 people, maybe 20 people. Why do ethnics always talk over the top of each other? Boom.
Well, it's you've used this stereotype in the question. It's brilliant.
That's you. I thought you'd be able to go straight away. Bang! I know why.
Well, no, I think I know what you're getting. I'm going to try and get to the. So when we say, because I mean the word ethnic is a bit of a like we're talking about Mediterranean, Latin American sort of these types.
Yes.
People.
And look,
Yeah.
I think you know me well enough to realise that when I say that, I'm speaking in the vernacular of a moron, and I'm actually being
No, because I mean, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get to the because I think we'll generalize this, and we'll say you're watching a talk show in Australia, which the host is Australian in the sense of the Anglo white sort of background.
And me
the
as
audience is probably predominantly that. Okay. So, but then in this crowd, you're watching Insight. There's, we'll say some. I don't know, we'll throw it out there. There's some Greeks, maybe there's some Lebanese guys, and some Italians. Now, these are from my experience and my background. These are passionate people, not in the sense of throwaway. I'm passionate about like we generally are outspoken or very when debating something. We're really. It comes across as how's it say? Waiting to speak. You're not listening, waiting to speak, or whatever you want to call it. It can come across as that, but it's more. I think it's an excitement.
Okay.
It's very much an excitement of I've got something to say, and that's what. Yeah, and that's what happens. But I think in a family situation, that isn't the same as in public or in an office, in a meeting. And differentiating that is difficult for people that grow up in an environment that, at Sunday lunch, 40 people at the table, yapping away, everyone's yapping louder than the last person. The conversation isn't that important. It's just, debating some stupid thing. Yet that same vibrancy and need to get to be heard or whatever it might be, you can't turn it off, or it's difficult. You got to consciously turn it off.
Yeah.
And I'm like that. So it's so I guess that's my answer there. It comes from the cultural background, It, like, I mean, if you go, I spent time in Italy, everyone just yaps away. They love it. Everyone's yapping loud, screaming across the road. And I think it does come from a bit of that, something we don't, I mean, Anglo culture is generally reserved, for the most part, not like, unless there's lots of alcohol involved or something like it.
Unless it's a race riot. They tend to get a little bit sparked up.
Yeah, but that's because I think that comes from the opposite of that. This kind of repressed sort of, you don't say anything, and then let the alcohol say it or whatever it might be. So, like I said, we'll ignore the fact that it's a generalization and that, we're obviously playing extremes here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what comes across as this boisterous, I'm not listening, I want to talk, is just a result of how, these people interact with their families, with their upbringing, whatever it might be, in their own cultures, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can't separate the two things. You can't, like, that's what my sort of argument for all these kinds of stereotypes, whatever you want to call it, is always that the same passion that, wants to win the argument is the same passion that makes you good takeaway food or whatever. Like it all comes from the same sort of place, you know what I mean?
Is that why I never get what I order, because I don't argue hard enough?
Yeah, you got to get a bit more boisterous in there. Like that was a silly one, but
No, I know what you're saying. It's a fire-blooded, passionate for life kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a good way to be, I reckon. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Oh, it's not about right or wrongs. Just trying to answer your question as best as I can.
No, you've done well again, mate. I got to say, I'm impressed because you guys, you people, see, question one. Yeah. You guys are known for extended families, right? Like that's. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, when you control something like a quarter of the globe not that long ago, I suppose you know someone from a bit of everywhere. Yeah. So it's probably a little bit of that. Whereas Australians are generally known for quite small families and not very close family ties. And obviously that's where I slot in very, very nicely in the vanilla category.
Yeah.
There'd be no brown eggs in my little egg carton. You know what I mean? If you were to do my family tree, it's very much a white egg sort of joint. Whereas yours is a little bit speckled, and I just thought, that's certainly something. So, because for me personally, I get really annoyed when people don't listen and just want to keep talking, especially if there's a point to be made, and then you have your say and I have my say, and he has his say, she has her say.
Yeah.
But on instances where there's an opportunity for everyone to have a go all at once, it seems to me that opportunity does get taken.
Yeah.
And it gets taken by everybody. I'm not even saying. It's a bit of a comedy question, but I'm not even saying it's just. But jeepers creepers, when you guys get on a roll, mate, it's nigh unwatchable.
Yeah, and that's plus, the talk show stuff's a whole nother kind of thing because it's almost that's part of the. I don't know. It's almost what they want. I know some of the shows. Try and intervene a bit more, but no one watches Jerry Springer because they want one person to have their say and then let someone else talk. You know what I mean? So that whole forum's a little bit strange in itself.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think that the type of show it is and the things that they're known for very much dictates what happens on stage, and I think you've answered that one very, very well again. So that was number 4. So how are you feeling so far?
Can't wait to get to 36.
Luckily for you, there's only 5. I couldn't come up with these. These are life-changing.
These are good.
People out there are going to be really radically thinking their Che Guevara shirt for uni the next day, mate. Like, they're going to really be fucking trying. They're going to all be wearing NWA shirts or, something like that. So, look, that was number 4. I think you've done well so far. There's been a couple from everything. Question 5. Bit of a possibly a broader scope here. Question 5. What's more important, microbiology or astronomy? Ah.
Okay. I thought astronomy was kind of something that's a bit. You studied that in 1608. In terms of. I just,
That factual? Have you just looked that up, or are you
well,
pulling
it's.
a
Well, you know, I'm not sure how much of a thing on its own it is what I'm saying.
number? Mm-hmm.
Anymore. I'm not. I might sound a complete dunce here, but my
That's
understanding
kind
is
of what
that astronomy is basically now more of a is part of physics in general. Like it's not. Sure, you can go and study about planets, but that's a bunch of nouns,
Mm-hmm.
and the actual science is something that you're now, you're essentially studying physics if you really want to get into that field. Um, so, shit, is it important? Okay, microbiology. So, what are we talking like?
Very, very small biology,
Yeah,
I think
okay.
it refers to.
Yeah. Is that? I mean, I've thrown it out there. Is that like bacterias and things like that? Is that what we're?
Yeah, I think it's very much your parameciums.
All right.
I think it's your petri dishes.
Yeah, yeah.
Very, very looking at it through one of those one-eyed contraptions.
Okay, so this is okay. I sort of see what's going on here. This is almost like do we need to get our own shit in order before we go gallivanting around the galaxy, sort of thing. I mean, I'm just going to break into like a philosophical thing here.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what I was going for.
Right, so,
I was thinking backyard, front yard.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was going for.
Okay.
Well done.
So let's not sort of worry about the science behind it because I don't know the first thing about it.
Well, I can tell you something, mate, just before you go on.
Yep.
1608 was the first year that the telescope was in use. So you thinking that you didn't know anything, the Dutch lens maker, Hans Lippershey, demonstrated the very first telescope to the Dutch Parliament. They also were the first to use checks in 1608.
Oh, fuck me. There you go. Learn something. We're teaching people stuff, yeah.
You're a lot cleverer than I tell other people, my friend. Let me tell you that. And one other thing, your very good mate John Milton was born.
Well.
Didn't he do something that we all know about?
Yeah, Paradise Lost.
That would be him, wouldn't it? Or unless it was his son Milton Jr., which it wasn't.
Well, they used John Milton, Al Pacino's character in the Devil's Advocate.
Oh, was he that guy?
Yeah, they called him. That was all. It's all part of the puns and the whole thing. Cause
sure, yeah.
Devil, whatever. And I'm pretty sure his name was Milton. Anyway.
Oh, sorry. I see what you're saying. Yeah, of course it was. I thought that wasn't a bad movie either.
No, it was. It was good.
It was all right. I mean, apart from Keanu Reeves, all the women were good in it, and Pacino was good in it too.
Yes. Okay. So, what's more important? See, I've got a thing on this because I don't like these black and white things because people go, well, so we need to get our own planet in order before we worry about space travel. We got problems at home, but things like going out into space lead to solutions to problems we have back home. So it's not as black and white as going, well, I'm going to study how we're going to cure cancer. You know what I mean? Because this is just a silly example, but you go to Mars and you find the fucking cure to cancer over there or something. Like it's a bit, like I say, it's a bit out there as an example, but in terms of the philosophy, growth and expansion often leads to you end up solving other problems that you couldn't solve by focusing on them exclusively.
A bit of distance, a bit of further knowledge. a bit of looking outwardly can often lead to a bit of introspection on the particular issue.
Well, it gives you a different. How many? I mean, there's so many examples of someone travels and then they come back home and they go, oh, that thing they do over there in that other country, it solves this problem. You can probably point to heaps of examples of that.
I thought kebabs. My first thought was kebabs. We need something late at night that you can eat while you're walking and carry it in one hand.
Yeah, it's people.
So you don't let go of the girl you've just picked up or your beer.
Yeah.
Kebabs. Yeah. Good example. Kebabs is a good example. Yeah. Well done. You get an extra point for that.
Yeah. So it's a difficult thing to. I'm always the field I work in. I'm always more about let's think about things in a different way and let's take it a bit further. And I'll give you a 2-second quick example. It's slightly related to that philosophy. Gmail was created because Google gave employees Fridays 20% time, whatever you call it, do whatever you want.
Right.
It was never the plan. It was never, we need to, we've got an issue with emails. Let's get to the bottom of it. It evolved from people taking a step away from the problems at hand, so to speak. So, I mean, again, it's not a precise example, but I don't think we shouldn't be trying to get into space because I want Star Trek.
Star Trek 90210.
Yeah. So that's I mean it's a tricky one. But
yeah, well, luckily, what your answer is doesn't shape the future of the planet because you can just whatever you think, I'll accept.
Yeah.
It's not going somewhere where they're going, oh no, Lorenzo said, sorry astronauts, Spark, sorry, get your shovels out. Yeah, come on everyone, it's been cancelled, Major Tom.
Let all those viruses out of the chamber because we're not studying them anymore. Yeah.
We need Dustin Hoffman. There's been an outbreak. Yeah.
Whoa, good.
So that's your answer.
Yeah. So I think if I had to choose, I'd say keep NASA running. We'll start it back up or whatever the hell it needs now. Yeah.
Well, who are they going to get to fake the moon landings now that Kubrick's dead? What's going to happen there? Although I did hear a guy today, or perhaps it was yesterday, on something I was watching or listening to, talking about how, in his opinion, the moon landing was faked. We did go to the moon, but the footage was faked when they got back to give people something to watch. Which makes you wonder why they bothered building the fucking rocket and going there in the first place.
Yeah, it's just like, that's like someone who just won't let it go.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm conceding that, but...
Yeah.
Sounds like me. Sounds like an ethnic on a talk show.
Yeah, I'm just glad he took off his tinfoil hat long enough to join us on Earth and fucking have an opinion. Good on him. But yeah, so look, so there you go, mate. So there's your 5 questions. I think you've done really well. I think you've answered them very, very well. Very well considered, exactly what I'd expect from you and exactly why you're the person I'm doing this podcast with and why we're having such a blast doing it. So congratulations to you. You win at life. Well done. You've got plus 40 hit points and an extra D6 on your understanding level, which is, fantastic for those out there that give a shit about that terminology. I just care about you, mate. So good one, top stuff.
Yeah. Thanks. All right. Thanks, guys.